Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to Drawing Down the Dragon. I'm Snappy, and thank you for joining me for our evening adoration to the Muses. We gather with the sunset and cry out in loving adoration to the Great Mother, the twins, and the Muses, the one, duality, and generation. And we ask the Muses to sing in us the songs of inspiration, to guide us in our wanderings, and to teach us to listen and perceive with reasoned clarity. Thank you guys for joining me. Peace and love, and let us now light our candles and begin our rites. Hail Hestia. All right. Thank you guys. It's a real pleasure to be here with you. Truly, truly love and appreciate it. Let's give a shout out to our chat. Much love, Veldane, Gandhi, much love. Kairos, much love. Honey Bee, much love. Christy, much love. Chef Steph, much love. Steve, much love. D Love, much love. Cat the Taurus, much love. Mother Panda, much love. Mother Rhea, all the love in the world. All right. So great to be here with you all. Okay. Now let us begin today by discussing the astrology. We find ourselves under the moon in Libra. And Libra is such harmonious, mystical energy that calls us to the heights of the ideal, that calls us into communication with the people around us. This is powerful energy that can lead to a true harmonizing, a true balancing of the self, a true connection with the people around us, right? Real, beautiful, balanced energy. But often we have to be cautious too under the moon here, because in our emotional sense, right, under this power of Selene, we have to be cautious that we don't, dismiss our feelings in order to maintain the harmony, right? Silence ourselves in order to be at peace, right? We have to recognize when we need to speak and when we need to act, and not be the one to sacrifice or to be left behind in order for other people to be comfortable, right? That's the downside to this energy of Libra. But the upside is that profound mediation, that harmonious communication, that loving balance, that energy that calls us into community, that connects us with others and brings us into passionate embrace, right? That leads to profound justice, real magical moment. So use this energy to balance yourself, to communicate and express yourself, to come into connection with the people around you, to better understand your place in the people around you, and to make the adjustments that are needed to better come into harmony, to understand and to act accordingly, right? Really profound. All right. And with that, let's now discuss our title. Flow on, beloved flood, flow on. This beautiful line comes to us from a magical poem by Goethe. And as we know, Goethe is the great German poet, the father of German language in many ways, one of the greatest poets of all time. So we're going to have some fun here. And we're going to read several different poems by Goethe. And the first poem that we're going to look at here is called To the Moon. To the Moon. All right. Bushes, valleys, silently, you fill with misty light, easing my soul utterly, again at last at night. Soothing, you cast your gaze over a dark country, as gentle and friendly eyes guard my destiny. Glad in troubled times, echo in my heart, I walk between pain and delight, in solitude apart. Flow on, beloved flood, flow on, I'll never know joy again. Laughter and kisses both are gone, and loyalty flows away. There was a time I had as yet life's most precious thing. Ah, a man can never forget that which torments him. River through the valley murmur without rest or peace, for my singing gently whisper murmuring melodies. When you rage on winter nights and then overflow, or when around the spring's delights or bursting buds you go. Happy are we if without hate, hidden from the world, we hold a friend to our heart and with him explore. What unknown to all their art, ignored by all mankind, through the labyrinth of the heart, wanders in the night. Hail, Celine. Hail the power of contemplation. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. The next one I'd like to read is called Song of the Spirits Over the Water. The spirit of man resembles water, coming from heaven, rising to heaven, and thither to earth must then ever descend. It leaps from the heights of the sheer cliff in a pure stream, then rises sweetly in clouds of spray against smooth stone, and lightly received from flows like a veil, streaming softly to depths beneath. When the sheer rocks hinder its fall, it foams angrily, flowing stepwise into the void. Along its flat bed, it wanders the vale, and on the calm lake, all the bright stars gaze at their faces. Wind is the water's sweet lover. Wind stirs up foaming waves from the deep. Spirit of man, how like water you are. Man's fate, oh, how like the wind. Wild, 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 right? Such an incredible, beautiful poem. And just something that is profound and really shows you the depths of Goethe's magical knowledge. What do I mean by this? Rising to heaven, hither and thither to earth must then ever descend. He understands the essential nature of reality, and that for every Addis there must be a Corey. And this is profound because at his time, right, that spirit of Christianity is ever dominant, ever in its patriarchal mode. And that energy removes the feminine, removes the descent to earth, right? It only highlights the ascension to the heavens and turns the earth into a hellscape, right? Wild, wild energy. And this is such a theme lately for me. The muse keeps sending me here to this dualistic image, right? The masculine and the feminine united in their ascent and descent, forced to face their greatest fears and overcome the self, and unite in that divine androgyne. Wild stuff. All right, we continue. We continue. Hail Goethe. The next one I'd like to read for you is called The New Amadis. The New Amadis. All right. In my boyhood's days so drear, I was kept confined. There I sat for many a year. All alone I pined, as within the womb. Yet thou drovest away my gloom. Gold and fantasy, I became a hero true. Like the Prince Pippi, in the world roamed through. Many a crystal palace built, crushed them with like art, and the dragon's lifeblood spilt with my glittering dart. Yes, I was a man. Next I formed the knightly plan, princess fish to free. She was much too complacent, kindly welcomed me, and I was gallant. Heavenly bred her kisses proved, glowing as the wine. Almost unto death I loved. Suns appeared to shine in her dazzling charms. Who hath torn her from my arms? Could no magic band make her in her flight delay? Say, where now her land? Where, alas, the way? Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Love this one, right? Again, we're seeing that recognition of the power of the imagination and engaging in the heights of inspiration, right? We're seeing this profound connection to the muse and a forcing of having to grow up, right? A recognition of that first connection, that golden fantasy, that playful beauty. But then what happens? That desire, that greed, that possessiveness. And then what happens? The muse flies away. Right? Wild stuff, wild stuff. Beautiful. Absolutely love it. Hail Goethe. And we continue. The next poem by Goethe I'd like to read for you called The Spirit's Salute. The hero's noble shade stands high on yonder turret gray, and as the ship is sailing by, he speeds it on his way. See with what strength these sinews thrilled, this heart how firm and wild, these bones what knightly marrow filled, this cup how bright it smiled. Half my life I strove and fought, and half I calmly passed, and thou, O ship, with beings fraught, safe, sail safely to the last. Wow, right? This cup, how brightly it smiled. Drink of the cup and take that leap into the unknown. Sail into that ship. Take the risk. Live that life of action, of profound beauty, right? Wild energy here. You know, there's a strong truism in that we have to be cautious in life to a certain extent, right? We want to go on that grandiose adventure, but we don't want to overindulge and destroy ourselves, right? But at the same time, we have to recognize the extreme danger of not going on the adventure, of not taking the leap. There's an equal risk of waste and death in not making any risk as there is in taking a risk. Ultimately, that middle path requires action and requires us to take a calculated, reasoned risk. Right? Wild stuff. Okay, to the next poem. To a golden heart that he wore round his neck. O thou token loved of joys now perished, that I still wear from my neck suspended, art thou stronger than our spirit bond so cherished? Or canst thou prolong love's days untimely ended? Lily, I fly from thee, I still am doomed to range through countries strange, through distant vales and woods linked unto thee. Ah, Lily's heart could surely never fall so soon away from me, as when a bird bath broken from his thrall and seeks the forest green. Proof of imprisonment he bears behind him, a morsel of the thread once used to bind him. The free born bird of old no more is seen, for he another's prey bath been. Wow. Right? Ever flying in that free spirit of the birds, ever in the flights of fancy. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. We continue. The next poem I'd like to read is a short one. It's called The Bliss of Sorrow. Never dry, tears that eternal love sheddeth. How dreary, how dead doth the world still appear, when only half dried on the eye is the tear. Never dry, tears that unhappy love sheddeth. Recognize what the tears represent. The tears represent that profound connection, right? That power of love. There is no love without sorrow. The bliss of sorrow is recognizing that we had something. You don't understand something until it is lost, right? We need that duality of experience. Never dry the tears because we don't want that profundity to ever end, that emotional connection, that height of experience. And the magic is in transforming that experience, recognizing the all, right? Going to the heights of true ecstasy. You know, you transform the emotion into madness, and the madness leads you into the heights of prophecy. Oh, Goethe, you dragon. Let us continue. All right. The next one we're going to read here is called The Wanderer's Night Song, another short one. And this will be our last. Thou who comest from on high, who all woes and sorrows stilleth, who for twofold misery hearts with twofold balsam fillest. Would this constant strife would cease, would our pain and rapture now, blissful peace to my bosom hasten thou. Right? The arrows of distance, we ever cry after peace, right? This is interesting how these unite like this. On one hand, Goethe is asking the Muses to never deny him the sorrow, to never let his cheeks dry, And then in the next instant, he's begging to experience the blissful peace. But he doesn't want the blissful peace. He wants the begging. He wants the eros of distance. He wants the madness of love. That is the Night Wanderer's song. Powerful stuff. All right. And with that, we're now going to hop over to our tarot proper. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful poetry and hail the wonderful Goethe. All right. And now we go and we begin our divination, as always, with our Ganapati Oracle. And let us invoke Ganapati Ganesh, the divine child, the Lord of beginnings, the guardian of the threshold, and the master of the spirits, the Ganas. And we ask Lord Ganapati to send us an inspiring message through the cards and to help ensure that our words are heard by those who need to hear them. So Lord Ganapati, what is today's empowering and inspiring message? Let's take a look. All right, our center card and defining image is the 43, Innocence. What incredible energy here, right? The 43 taking us to 7. 7, that rapture energy, that explosion of power, that ascension energy that leads us beyond stability, beyond the middle path. Profound power here, right? What we're seeing here too is the 4 and the 3. This is an alchemical formula. This is the combination of the masculine and the feminine, the emperor and the empress, right? Really wild energy here. And this is the reformation of the divine androgyne, the turning back to the child, to the fool, to that primordial innocence, right? This is profound energy, right? And the 7 in the tarot is the princess, represents the heights of potential, right? Represents that childlike potential and wonder, that energy that must be allowed to blossom and to grow unto its heights. Really profound energy, right? The energy that sits upon the thrones of Malkuth and takes the ace to its ultimate fruition. Profound, profound. What is this all about? We are called to embrace that childlike wonder, that audacity, to go back into that innocent primordial conception, to perceive the world without judgment, without false conceptions, right? Without anything but that purity of desire. You know, think about the child who just leaps after what they want, right? Who just goes and tries to take. They just see the candy and they go for it. They see the shiny rock and they go for it. There's no thought of consequence. There's no thought of anything other than this is where my sight has taken me. That's the energy we wish to embody. That's that profound reality. We are experiencing the universe unveiled and unclouded by previous conception in that magic of true innocence, pursuing our profound desire, our truest will, right? Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff. With this energy, I always say, meditate upon the princesses and meditate upon the fool. See their relationship. Recognize that profound power behind that innocence. As much as our knowledge and our reasoning has gained us, it has also distorted us, right? With every new innovation, there's a profound loss, right? The myth of progress is just that, a myth. The universe is complex and we are ever diversifying. It is not a straight line in any sense. And things are far more nuanced than such limited perspectives, right? We have to break free of these idioms and ideas that color and distort our conceptions, break free of the spooks, and return into that childlike innocence and wonder that can perceive the world as it is. Lovely. All right. And with that, let's continue. We're now going to go to our Fairy Guardian Oracle. Thank you so much, Ganapati, our fairy guardian oracle. And we invoke the spirits, the fairies, the daimones, the manes, the lares, the penates, the seleni, the genii, the satyrs, the dryads, the naiads, the oreads, the nymphes, the nereids, the kurites, the coryobantes, the elves, and the gnomes, all the spirits of mind, the spirits of place, the spirits of the ancestors, the spirits of the elements, the spirits of the dead. We invite them all in and ask them to watch over our readings, to guide my hands and inspire. What is the message, spirits? Let's take a look. Look in a book. Whatever your question right now, you'll find the answer in a book. The words you find will bring the insight you seek. Wow, time to do a magical sortes. The fairies have commanded us. And what book just happens to be directly next to me? Cosmogonic Eros by Ludwig Klages. Let's see. Muses inspire. What is the message from Klages? Let's see. Spirits inspire too. All right. The blossom is not simply the uppermost point of something whose root is the lowest. Rather, the root reaches up into the blossom and the blossom down into the root. The former contains hidden, only transformed. The root no less than the latter contains, not yet unfolded, the blossom. In order for us to find this out, the root must have left the trunk and the blossom must have burst forth on the treetop. Similarly, this is what we mean when we say that the chaos of the soul must separate from the triune stem of cosmic ecstasies. Only the middle part ultimately carries the flower of Eros. Only the middle part, right? That true perfected path, the six. And what is the six? The six is the path of love, the lovers in the tarot, the energy that calls us to recognize ourselves and the others, and to go through that profound path of refinement, to reform the divine androgyne, to imitate the other, to connect and commit to the highest muse, right? Profound. Wow, that is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing, you know? Hail Klages, right? This is magical stuff. And all of you should do this. You can do this with any book. It doesn't need to be something magical. It just needs to be something random. The magic is in you. The magic is in you, and it's in the spirits. You just have to be open and receptive, willing to listen, right? You have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. Are you looking? Are you listening? Right? Open the book, select something at random, read it out loud, right? If the message doesn't immediately become clear, write it down. Keep it with you. Think upon it. Allow it to become a symbol. Allow it to marinate in your mind and to inspire connection. Let it become something profound. That's the message. How beautiful. Thank you, spirits. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right. And with that, we're going to begin our tarot proper. But before I do, please give me a like and a subscribe. It really does make a big difference. It boosts everything in the algorithm, and I would truly love and appreciate it. And if anyone is interested in me pulling them a couple cards, please send me a super chat, a super thanks, or sign up for a YouTube membership. And today we're going to begin with a 9-card Saturn Square reading. And we're going to start with the Thoth Tarot by Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. And remember, this is a community reading. So take what resonates, discard what does not, and trust your own personal intuition above all else. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon us, to guide us throughout our days, and to help us to realize the beauty of our dreams. So Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message from the Thoth Tarot? Let's take a look. All right, Muses inspire. Our center card and defining image is the 5 of Swords, defeat. Wow. The heaviest of energies, right? The defeat is the struggle to come into understanding, to move beyond one's limited perspective and to gain that true historical perspective, to engage in that profound scientific understanding, to come into profound reason. And this is one of the most intense energies because we see first we have the magic of the five. The five is the force of Venus, of Aphrodite, that energy that calls us to exceed ourselves, to stand atop the four elements and to wield the elemental weapons, to become the magus, to draw down the moon and to reach for the stars, right? We are trying to move up into that profound existential energy. And in the air, this is about moving beyond our core understanding, our foundation, right? In the four, we have the magic of truths, the beginnings of true wisdom. We are learning to see outside of ourselves, to expand our perspective through conversation and listening, right? And now we have formed a foundational understanding. We have a grasp of reality in the world. But if we wish to come into true wisdom, to see the world in its profundity, we have to move even beyond the limits of this foundation. We have to reach up into the heights of the ideal. We have to expand our knowledge with the consensus of humanity through that totality of human experience, through the history, right? This energy has a deep nostalgia to it because it is that collectivized understanding that has come to us across time and space, right? And to gain that wisdom, you have to do the deep, hard work. This does not come easy. This does not come easy at all. And often what we see is the muse forces you to flip your poles. If you wish to come into that perfected energy of the six, into that true understanding, the heights of intellect, then you're going to have to do the hard work in the earth almost always. Let's see where this is taking us. Oh, wow. What are we seeing here? We're jumping from the 5 to the 8. This is interesting. You know, what we're seeing here is, you know, two aspects of the path that we find ourselves upon. We're trying to come into true knowledge and understanding, to gain the magic of the six, the intellect, science, and reason. But to do that, you have to persist. You have to struggle in the defeat, struggle in the understanding. You must do the work, write the essays, read the books, express yourself, debate, challenge and fail and challenge again. That is the only way to really engage this energy, you know? But what we're seeing here is this profound frustration. Profound frustration. The defeat is hard. The defeat is a real struggle. And in the face of this defeat, we're finding ourselves paralyzed. The Eight of Swords is interference, depression, binding energy. The energy that says, I can't and I won't, and then I don't. I stay in bed. I don't get up. I stop trying, right? In the face of the struggle to be understood and to understand, we stop. And that is the worst thing you can do. Right now, you're in this heavy negative energy of the 5. Right now, this energy can fester, and we can see the mirror of this energy, right? And the mirror of this always implies all of this jealousy and rage. The 5 energy, you know, now you have to admit defeat. Now you have to admit failure. Now you have to be in that failure. Now you have to be in the jealousy too. You can see other people in the 6. You can see other people coming into reason and intellect, and you are not. This is a really bad spot to be. Let's continue. And look, we're showing up as the Knight of Wands. So on one hand, this is positive because we're in this mature energy, right? But we are in a very different energy than the air, you know? The Knight of Wands is the fire of fire. That passionate person who's confident and loves themselves, you know, is in themselves. They understand what they want. They recognize, you know, what they need in life and who they are, and they're out to just live their life. They're in that profound, confident energy. They stand tall and beautifully fulfilled, right? Really powerful, powerful energy. These people often become leaders and are deeply attractive, right? But this energy, all that fire, is not the air. And the fire tends to get inflamed and enraged by the air, right? The air demands suffering. The air demands conflict. And the fire does not do well in conflict. tends to burn up, right? When you combine these two energies, you get a whirlwind, right? Wow. So we're seeing this night really struggle to come into understanding, to come into expression, and they're finding themselves paralyzed. Let's see. Wow, look at that. We have the beautiful Princess of Discs. Lovely, lovely, incredible energy, right? The princesses always represent new life and generation. This could be children, or it could be a profound idea or project, or something that takes on a life of its own, something that exists beyond you, that must blossom, that must come into itself, right? This card also represents power, potential, destiny, and motion, right? The magic of the sevens, the ones that take the ace to completion. And so this energy must be protected, it must be nurtured, it must be allowed to come into itself and to blossom and to grow up. Here we see the princess in the earth of earth. This energy in its most grounded, its most practical, its most building, and in its most artistic, right? This is the real craftsman energy. This is this is humanity in its height, right, of its power, capable of transforming the earth, of building and creating, right? Athena as the craftsman. Really profound energy here. And remember, I said often in order to get beyond the five, you have to flip your pole, you have to come into the earth. What are we seeing here? The night is being called into the earth, called into the earth in a different way than I was thinking, but called into the earth the same, right? There's a profound responsibility here, a profound connection here. The knights and the queens are always fulfilled in the connection to the princess. That is their responsibility. That's where they find purpose and potential, right? And this is really, really beautiful. The knight is going to find the knowledge he seeks when he takes responsibility in the earth, when he nurtures this energy and helps it come into itself. Wow. And man, wow, this is powerful stuff. This is a child probably. This is a child probably. This is familial energy, right? The Four of Discs is one of the most complicated cards in the minor arcana, right? This is the power, the foundation, our core sense of being, our home, our family, our work, our identity, all bound up, right? Because the earth represents all of the elements, the fire, the water, and the air combined. And in the four, this is our true core foundational building. And this is really powerful, profound stuff, because what does the princess need most of all? She needs this. She needs her foundational energy. She needs that security, that place upon which she can build and blossom. And this is what we're seeing. We have the potential to create this for the princess, but we're all in this interfering energy. You know, it's like we're struggling to come into understanding. And the answer is found in the responsible action, taking responsibility and building the foundation in the earth. But we're preventing ourselves from doing it because we're caught up in this pursuit of wisdom. And we're caught up in this idea that the wisdom must be found in the air, right? Sometimes it's not found in the air. Sometimes it's found in practical action. It's found in experience, right? The energy of the Four of Discs is also so profound for the night, because this is about creating and establishing the core self, building the family, building the home. And this is what everyone needs and wants. That's why the four is so heavy. You know, those who don't have this struggle to build it, those who have it struggle to maintain it. This is the purview of the emperor and of the hierophant, those energies that come in to establish our cores, right? Wild stuff. Let's see where this is going. Man, yeah, we got another four, the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups, luxury, right? This represents those core relationships in one's life that are truly foundational, familial, whatever that is for you, those people that stay with you through the changing of the cycles, that love you despite you evolving and growing and moving, you know, the people that stay with you, that form our core identity. And look, this princess is this for us. This is us building our core sense of self, and our core relationships are all found here. Wow, 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 wow. This is really, really powerful. The wisdom that the knight is seeking is found by going back down into the earth and back into the core relationships. This is interesting because they believe the wisdom that they seek must be found in that existential, mystical pursuit of the air. And ultimately, they will get to that mystical realization. It's just not found through the way that they are thinking, right? We have this conception that in order to come into that true communal wisdom and understanding, you have to do it in the air itself. You got to engage in study. You have to engage in conflict. But, but, oftentimes you need that experiential wisdom to take you there, you know, and that's what we're seeing here, that core construction and building. Yeah. Look at this. We got to go on a profound journey. What is the energy of the Magus all about? What is this power? This is Hermes, the grand communicator, the storyteller, right? The one who takes account, the one who can manifest its will upon reality. When we see this energy, we are called to embrace our power, to wield our elements, to construct our foundation. You know, the knight needs to tell their story. They need to build this for the princess. They need to be this for the princess. And that's where the answers they seek will be found. And they need to recognize that they have the power and the ability, get out of their own way and start being in that true creative storytelling energy. You know, the interesting thing about the Magus is that they again can go back to that profound innocence that we saw with Ganapati, right? They have this ability to dip back into the magic of the fool. They can return back to that childlike wonder, embrace that audacity. They can put a crown upon their head and claim they are a king, right? They can do the magic, say the story, believe it, and make it manifest. And that's what we need to do here. We need to do that for the princess. We need to establish this for her, creating the earth. That's where we come into true wisdom and understanding. Let's continue. Oh, wow, we got double Hermes energy here. How wild is this? Double Hermes energy. The Eight of Wands, swiftness, right? This is the power of Hermes. This is a message, right? When this energy is here, it signifies that the gods are come to break us out of this eight energy, right? The eights are so confining, but there's a spark of inspiration that's coming to get us out of Dodge, to lead us to a new opportunity, to lead us into the waters, into this foundational energy here, into this loving connection. But in order to do it, we have to take hold of this opportunity. We have to see it, recognize it, and take that leap, right? We have to embody that spirit of the Magus. Can you see the world with the eyes and the ears of the Magus? Can you recognize the signs and the synchronicities? Can you trust your intuition and your heart? And when the opportunity presents yourself, can you seize it and leap, right? The Muse is coming here. The spirits are coming here to give you something that'll bring you into this creative power, that'll bring you into this familial, loving understanding, that'll break you free out of these chains of depression and overthinking. But it's up to you ultimately to seize it. Yeah. Wow. We see another five. Heavy energy here with the fives. But look, right? The answer for the five is the same as the answer. The answer for the Five of Cups is the same answer for the Five of Swords, right? In order to get out of that. Oh, sorry, that's the Seven of Cups. Never mind. I misread. Seven of Cups, debauchery. That's heavy energy. That's heavy energy. You know, the debauchery, right? This is also illusion energy, right? This is the masking of pain with limited forms of pleasure. It's the refusal to deal with one's shit, and instead of facing one's problem, you just waste time. You abuse the self or you abuse others, right? We're no longer in reciprocal harmony. We're in this wasteful energy of neglect. And the thing here is the pleasures we engage in, they They mask the pain, but they don't deal with the problem. So the problem festers and gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the thing that gave us pleasure, the pleasure becomes less and less and less and less and less. And then eventually we find ourselves in the depths of decrepitude, right? Real heavy energy here. This is one of the heaviest cards to deal with. There's a need to real focus, to take responsibility, right? To be honest when we see this energy. Because there's two sides to it, right? It's we can be the abuser or we can be the one being abused. It's really complicated and we have to take responsibility, face our fears, deal with our shit. What is making us so uncomfortable? What is this pain that we're refusing to deal with? Why are we hiding in the pleasure? Why are we distracting ourselves? You know, this energy is a real painful one, not understanding, not being able to express ourselves, right? It's bringing out this frustrating energy here. But look what the Muse is showing you. We need to go back to this core energy. We need to really be in this energy here. This is where we find ourselves. This is where it breaks us out of the debauchery. This is what breaks us out of the depression. This is where the Magus leads us. This is where our story should lead us. This is where our profound magic should take us, where we are meant to be going. When we take responsibility and take care of the child, we build the core family. We build our core sense of self. We come into security and into empowerment. We break out of this debaucherous energy and we come into harmony, right? There's a complete shedding and a going back into what is necessary and needed, a taking of responsibility here for the sake of the child. And that is profound, profound energy. What I'm seeing here is the knight is almost in this overindulgent energy, right? The debauchery is that wastefulness. They're struggling to understand, and so they're exploring and wasting their time. But ultimately, the Muse is leading them out of this. They just have to embrace that magic, take hold of this opportunity, recognize the need, recognize that you're needed, and understand, sometimes, the Five of Swords is just such flippin' hard, complicated energy, and it's different for everyone. But ultimately, remember, like the wisdom you seek is usually not found where you think it is. If it was found where you thought it was, you'd already have grasped it, And this energy, this defeat energy, it really demands that you overcome, that you move beyond your limits, that you exceed yourself, And it often takes that experience. It often takes us grounding ourselves in the earth. Once you ground yourself in the earth, then you can rise to the stars. Then you can rise to the heights of the air. But the earth has to come first, almost always, right? It is the magic of Virgo, the 9, right? That then takes us into the Libra, right? The 11, Powerful, powerful stuff. All right. So that's the message, guys, right? Become that profound magus. Tell your story and connect to that child. Take responsibility for the child. Build the foundation. Come into the family, right? This is where you will find the knowledge that you seek. And this energy will break you free of all of this negativity that you find yourself in. You are needed. There is purpose here. You just need to believe in it and live it. That's the message. Peace and love. I hope that resonated with you all. It certainly resonated with me. Amazing. And thank you, Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley and the Thoth Tarot. All right. And once again, if anyone would like me to pull them a couple cards, please send me a super chat, a super thanks, or sign up for a YouTube membership. All right. Let me just take a quick drink here. And with that, we're going to do another community tarot reading. And we're going to go to the most classic tarot of all time, the Rider-Smith-Waite by Pamela Coleman Smith and A.E. Waite. And we're going to do a 9-card Saturn Square community reading. And remember, because this is a community reading, take what resonates, discard what doesn't, and trust your own personal intuition above all else. All right. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon us, to guide us throughout our days, and to help us to realize the beauty of our dreams. So, Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message from the Rider Smith Waite Tarot? All right, let's take a look. Inspire. All right, our center card and defining image, the Hangman, primordial water, right? The Hangman, wild stuff. This is powerful. The 12, the water. And the 12, right, reduces, it takes us into the magic of the 3, the power of the Great Mother, the energy that calls us into loving harmony, into connection. When we see this energy, right, it's all about, you know, we find ourselves not in flow. We're not in harmony. If this card is here, we need to recognize, trust our intuition. Something is not right. We feel it in our bones, in our being. And there's a need to confront this, to flip our perspective upside down, to see outside of ourselves, and to really look into those places that make ourselves uncomfortable. Be honest with ourselves and take responsibility. If this energy is here, there's a need to make a sacrifice. There's a need to make a profound change in order to come back into harmony and into flow, into that loving generative magic, right? And this needs to happen. This energy is here to protect you, right? You make this sacrifice now, you empower yourself now, and you avoid catastrophe. If you don't, you never find your way home. You never, ever transition beyond this. You get crushed, right? This is heavy, heavy stuff, but profound at the same time. But the only way out of the waters is not only to face your fear, but then you have to change. You have to listen. You have to do something differently and take responsibility. You are the problem here, and you need to come back into flow and change your circumstance. Where do we go from here? Oh, man. We're getting heavy. We're getting heavy. The Emperor, the magic of Zeus, right? The masculine at the height of its power in all of its complexity. This is such powerful, beautiful energy, right? When we see this Emperor card, it demands that we take authority, that we become the emperor in our own life, that we cultivate the vision, and that we unite the people around us to build and create, right? This is empowering energy, responsible energy, the energy that builds the foundation, the power in the earth, right? Energy that protects and uplifts the children in its ideal mode, right? And what we're seeing here with this water card, right, with the Hangman, there's a need for us to be in this. This is complicated because most of us will shirk from this responsibility. No one wants to be the one who has to make the decisions. No one wants to be the one in charge. No one wants to be the one who is the organizer and the doer, right? Who has to press the buttons. But this is what this is about. If you wish to break free of this energy of the Hangman, you're going to have to be that authority. You're going to have to take responsibility and be that empowered actor in your own life. Where do we go from here? All right. And look at that. Yeah. The Four of Cups. The Four of Cups. So much water energy here. The Four of Cups is luxury. This is the family in all of its complexity, right? The fours are always such complex energy, just as the power of Zeus, right? When we look at Zeus, Zeus can be that loving father, the greatest protector, or it can be the tyrant, the oppressor, right? The one that the foundation can be that support upon which we stand that lifts us up into the heights of the ideal, or it can be that thing that holds us back and prevents change and stagnates us, right? Complicated energy. The Four of Cups, luxury is the same, right? This is the family, those core relationships that stay with you through the changing of the cycles, whoever those people are for you. And these people can be the best people in your life, right? They can support you and love you, or they can oppress you, restrict you, define you, and limit you. It's such complicated energy, right? But there's a need here to reconcile with this, right? The emperor is needed for this familial energy. What I'm getting a sense of is we are being called to build that foundation in the earth, to bring them together in security, to take charge, right? To protect and to empower. Wow. We got the Three of Cups. Look at this. Both energies of three, both in the water. Ultimately, these energies are about loving generation, calling us into harmony, into connection, calling us into that future expansion, calling us to recognize the people around us and to work together in harmony and in diversity, right? Ever expanding flow, true abundant energy, right? This is really, really beautiful. And what we're seeing is when we can come into flow where it leads us, right? We're coming into that true expansive, beautiful, magical energy. When we can be that emperor, when we can really connect to our core relationships. Oh, interesting. We have the 3, 4, and 5 in the waters. Look at this. This is some interesting stuff. We're seeing a full kind of watery path here, right? From this center image of having to reconcile the waters with the hangman to coming into the family, to coming into abundance, and to moving beyond that foundation. You know, the other aspect of the Four of Cups with the luxury, right, is, you know, the family. This energy is very comforting. It's very familiar, right? We feel at home and secure here, fulfilled here. Often this energy is so comforting and beautiful that people find themselves sitting in it, you know, not looking for anything greater. There's a problem there, though, right? Ultimately, this energy can't fulfill you, right? It can be comfortable, it can be beautiful, but you will not find the love that you seek in the fours. They're not enough. This is, you know, the analogy I like to give is the teenager at home. You can be good friends with your parents, but your parents will never be your best friend or your lover. You'll never be fulfilled by your parents. You're going to have to eventually leave home. This is what it is, right? This energy is beautiful, and we want it to be that foundation upon which we build, but we got to build upon it. And to build upon it, it requires us to go into this energy of the 5 again, right? And the 5 of Cups is intense. It's disappointment, right? That struggle to come into loving harmony, the struggle to come into ecstasy, into mutual reciprocal loving flow, right? To be in connection with others. But in order to get to that energy, you have to put yourself out there. You have to struggle to connect to others. You have to come into flow. You have to make the sacrifices that are needed, right? Wild stuff here. Let's see. But look at this, the 10 of discs. Wow. When we can really reconcile all this water energy, we can be in that visionary providing energy. When, you know, the thing with the waters is the waters need a focus. Excuse me. The waters need support. They need something to bring them into connection. And this is what we're seeing. That emperor is taking all of these watery energies into the earth, into connection to build. The 10 of discs is beyond profound, right? This is wealth, accomplishment, true empowered creation. We have now built something. We have made something that exists outside of the self and get to reap the benefits of our creation, right? And we get to go back to the root of the element of earth with all of this profound wisdom, all of this knowledge and experience and respect. The universe recognizes we have created something and built something, and now we have the chance to do it again. It's incredible, powerful energy here, right? We're not just building the foundation, we're completing the cycle. This is the building of the templum. This is creating a space for all of these people, uniting them in true creative power. Wow. Let's see here. And we have the chariot, Apollo as the destroyer, right? The magic of Cancer, the Mother Durga, right? Really, really beautiful energy, the chariot, but complicated, you know. The chariot is the most powerful and active card in the entire deck. It's the energy that calls us to stand up and fight for what we love and what we believe in, that challenges us to act and to move, to don our armor and to do what is necessary. You know, I always think of Prince Arjuna in the Mahabharata, and in the story, right? He is forced to fight his loved ones, his friends, and his family. But that's his responsibility, and he has to do what is right and what is needed. You know, that is this energy. If you love something, you must be willing to sacrifice and die for it, right? Are you willing to embrace that loving passion energy and protect what you love? And this is powerful, connecting these two energies, the emperor with the chariot, because we're bringing in this passionate watery energy with all of that emperor's fire. you know the emperor can be ambivalent. It seeks to be that inspiring force. It seeks to be that voice of authority that unites us into action. And it often doesn't care about the waters, even as it does for the waters. But the chariot, right? It's all about that water. It is the Cancer energy. It's out to, it has that fiery passion to act, but it has that water that needs protection, you know? Beautiful stuff here. Beautiful stuff. And it's a chariot that's going to take us through the hangman and into that generative power, into connection, right? Oh, look at this. We have the devil. The devil. Ha ha ha. Love to see it. Right? Capricorn. The 15. The devil, right? The devil holds the keys to the heights, to that path to initiation, right? To the holy mountain, to true love and wisdom. But in order to get to this energy, you have to face yourself in the mirror. The devil is also the adversary, the shaman, the full moon, and he confronts you. He confronts you, and look, in order to come into that true accomplishment energy, in order to make the sacrifices are needed, we're going to have to face ourselves and our limitation. We're going to have to best ourselves, right? You're going to have to exceed yourself, outwit the devil, outmatch the devil, right? But that's what will bring you into true love. That's what will turn you into an emperor. And that's what will lead to profound creation, right? Wow, wow, wow. What do we see here? The Page of Wands. And look at that. Look at that. Again, we see another profound energy of a princess, this time in the fire, the earth of fire. And as we said, the princesses represent new life and generation, power, potential, destiny, and motion, either children or inspired ideas, things that have a life of their own, that exist beyond us, that must be nurtured and allowed to blossom. Real profound energy here. And the earth of fire is that princess energy that comes to upset the old growth, that comes to bring a new idea, to burn what no longer serves, and to bring us into profound action, right? When we see this magic of the 10, it's because she is here. The whole point of the page is to bring the ace to its end. The emperor builds the 4. He doesn't build the 10. But when he's connected to her, together, they can do this. He can be that foundation that protects her, that allows her to come into her blossoming, that allows her to come into the energy of the 5 and to complete the next set, right? He completes the first half of the cycle. She completes the second half. And together, they complete this true magnum opus. They create wealth and abundance. They complete the cycle, build the templum. Wow, wow, wow. This is profound stuff, guys. Profound stuff. And it all begins in the waters, recognizing and trusting our intuition, taking responsible action, understanding that we are not in flow and that we need to change. We need to change course, and we need to face our fears and take responsibility. When we can do that, we can come into this energy of the emperor. And it's that emperor energy that's needed to face the devil. If you wish to overcome your limits, you're going to have to become that empowered force that will do it. If you wish to connect to others and do the hard work to provide and protect that child, you're going to have to be the emperor, right? This is a heavy reading, but it's one that leads to profound creation, into new life and beauty, right? Amazing. Be the emperor, protect the child, and together create. That's the message. Absolutely love it. All right. And with that, we will end the reading. I hope that resonated with you. It certainly resonated with me. How beautiful. And once again, if anyone would like me to pull them a few cards, please send me a super chat, a super thanks, or sign up for a YouTube membership. All right. Too fun. Okay. And we're just gonna keep rolling unless someone wants to send me a donation. So we're gonna go to the Egyptian Tarot of the Lima by Oliver St. John. And we will, of course, do another 9-card Saturn Square reading. And we will, excuse me. Oh, thank you to Phoenix for the donation. We'll take a pause here and give you a 3-card reading. All right. So all the love to you. I really, really appreciate you and your continued membership. Thank you so much. It means the world. All right. And let us invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon the Phoenix, to guide them throughout their day and to help them to realize the beauty of their dreams. So Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and defining message for the Phoenix? All right, let's take a look. Muses inspire. All right. And we have the Knight of Cups, the Knight of Cups, the fire of water. So this is wild energy, you know. The Knight of Cups is kind of the classical knight in many ways, the romantic, the one who seeks loving connection. Beautiful energy. And to have this energy in the center like this, it could be a couple things. This could be how you're showing up, or this could be someone in your life. But you need to try and meditate on this energy and think about what this could be. But this is someone who's really trying to come into loving connection, trying to fight for that loving connection. But there's also a real disharmony here. You know, the fire and the waters clash. And this character is a romantic, but often not a committed person. You know what I mean? They're often in the flights of fancy and caught up in all of this romanticism, you know? Wild stuff. Interesting. Connected to the knight, we see the Prince of Swords, the heir of air, right? And princes often represent youth, people who are trying to figure out their place in the world, who are trying to understand the world, right? And as always, the princes need to grow up. They need to figure out themselves and to commit, to come out of the air and come into the waters or the fire, to make a profound commitment, you know, to begin that creation of the self and to recognize that the air does not have the answers that they seek, right? This is complicated energy here, the heir of air, because the heir of air is the prince who's caught up in the heights of their imagination, disconnected from the self, disconnected from reality, disconnected from the world, you know? And what I'm seeing here is that that knight is connected to this youth. The knight may be responsible for this youth. And this is a really hard energy to deal with, right? This is, you know, the teenager in its kind of worst mode, that youth who's just in this self-victimization energy and refusing to face reality, you know? Yeah, and what's this? The issue here is one of the waters. Okay? Both of these cards need to reconcile with this energy of the hangman. And the hangman, as we were discussing, right? That power of the three of the great mother, the primordial water. It's all about recognizing that we are not in harmony and taking responsibility. Changes are needed. This prince is completely out of balance. This knight is in conflict with itself, right? Both of these characters need to reconcile the waters, and there's probably some emotional conflict here because the prince is in conflict with everyone, including itself. That's the nature of the Prince of Air. It's an asshole. It just is, right? It just is at this time, you know, that it's the teenager energy, you know, so it needs to grow up. It needs to grow up. And part of this is about, you know, the knight is the mature person here, and they're going to have to help the prince face the waters. As much as they also need to face the waters and take responsibility, you know, they need to help the prince do it, because the prince really needs to get out of this energy. He can't stay in this ridiculous, victimization mode, this, narcissism of small difference type energy. That's the Prince of Air in a nutshell, right? So this is telling you, recognize that this is an issue and that there's a need to try and help this guy come back into flow and loving harmony. All right, that's the message. I hope that resonated with you. Powerful, powerful stuff. And thank you so much to Phoenix for all your love and support. Really, really, really appreciate it. You're such a beautiful soul. All right. And with that, let's continue. We now have a wonderful donation from Mother Rhea. All the love into you, Mother Rhea. And let us pull you a few cards. And we will, of course, go to the Thoth Tarot by Lady Frida Harris and Aleister Crowley. And we invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon Mother Rhea, to guide her throughout her day and to help her to realize the beauty of her dreams. So Apollo and the Muses, what is the empowering and inspiring message for Mother Rhea? Let's take a look. Inspired. Okay. Wow. Now that is a powerful card to get in your center for a 3-card reading, right? The 2, Aphrodite, Urania, the highest muse, the hidden light in the darkness, Hecate, right? When we see this energy, she calls you to sit in the silence and in the darkness, to listen, to be in the self, and to recognize her voice. There's a profound initiation here, a profound challenge that'll lead you to the heights of the ideal, that'll help you become your best self, that'll lead you further in connection and in harmony with that profound great mother. Wow. And where do we find the initiation? Where do we find this? We find it in the work. The 3 of Discs is powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. The great mother energy in the earth. This is about hard work, but it's also about collaboration, coming together for the purposes of construction, right? Working with others. The 3 always is that generative force that brings us into connection with other people, that calls us into harmony. So there's a need here to work and to build, but to do it in connection with others. Yeah. And there's a frustration here, right? There's the futility energy. The futility energy, the 7 of Swords, futility, deceit. It's one of the most insidious energies in the entire deck, and one of the hardest and most common cards to deal with, because this is self-doubt, self-limiting thought, right? We're not fully disconnected from reality. We're not fully hurting ourselves, but we are preventing ourselves from being our best self, because we are distorting reality. We're not seeing things as they are, and we are making things worse, right? We're in this fearful mode, and we're preventing ourselves from coming fully into action. When we see this 7 here connected to the work energy, there's a frustration at work. There's a inability to collaborate, and there's a need to reconcile with this futility energy. Are you preventing yourself from coming into connection with others? Are you doubting that this work will be fulfilling? All kinds of questions to ask, and there's a need to really face yourself. Like I said, the 7s of Swords are very insidious because they're subtle. They're subtle. And often we don't recognize the deceitful ways we are perceiving the world and the victim kind of mentality that's starting to seep in. It's not quite this all-encompassing, delimiting thing that we see in the 8s, or this lashing out that we see in the 9s, but this is the beginning of viewing the world as preventing you, of doubting your own ability, right? And we are called to be in that positive energy. You want to be in that reasoned energy, the 6 of Swords. And the Muse is saying that this is a really important initiation for you, a really important discovery for you. Recognizing this energy and breaking out of it and coming into the work, right? Just doing the work and taking the time to do it, and not doubting yourself, not allowing that negativity to distort it. The other thing with the earth to always remember is that the earth is the slowest and heaviest of all the elements. For anything to manifest in the earth, it takes time, it takes effort, right? The air changes in a second. The earth, no. And this is why the seven again is so dangerous, because we may be doing the hard work, but we may have yet to reap the benefits of the hard work. Don't allow that futility to set in before you've even reaped the benefits. Do the work and persist. The muse is showing you this energy will lead you into true self realization and understanding. It's going to take you to the heights of the ideal. You're going to find yourself in what you seek. Get out of your own way and embrace the work, embrace the art, collaborate, and enjoy it. That's the message. Peace and love. Thank you so much, Mother Rhea. All the love in the world to you. All right. And we continue. Okay, up next, we've got a request for a sortes. Of course, we can do that. Thank you so much, Kat. All the love in the world to you. And she would like to go to the Wild Women. Let's see, where's that? Here we go. Women who run with wolves, myths and stories of the wild woman archetype by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And we invoke Apollo and the Muses and ask them to shine their light upon Kat and to inspire her. What is the inspiring message from Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes and Women Who Run with Wolves? There are oceans of tears women have never cried, for they have been trained to carry mother and father's secrets, men's secrets, society's secrets, and their own secrets to the grave. A woman's crying has been considered quite dangerous, for it loosens the locks and bolts on the secrets she bears. But in truth, for the sake of a woman's wild soul, it is better to cry. For women, tears are the beginning of the initiation into the Scar clan, that timeless tribe of women of all colors, all nations, all languages, who down through the ages have lived through a great something, and yet who stood proud and stand proud. Right? You have to be willing to speak up and speak true. This is such a profound energy. It's better to cry out, better to express. And we see this in the profound magical goddesses in our tradition, right? Look to the great Mother Demeter. Her cries and her desperation, her refusal to stop grieving, her refusal to listen, leads to the resurrection of her daughter, right? Leads to the rebirth of spring. That's just how it is. Or look at one of the most profound goddesses in the tradition, Tacita, right? The great nymph, Lala, right? Babel herself, the chatterbox. She spoke up. She spoke up to Jupiter. She challenged Jupiter, and she tried to prevent him from hurting her sister. And for that, she had her tongue ripped out, and she was cast into the swamps, into the earth, right? And it was there that she made love with Hermes and gave birth to the Lares, right? The profound twins, And this is incredible energy, I was thinking upon this myth a lot these last few days. That the goddess is Tacita is something that deeply resonates with me. And when you look at this image, she reveals herself also in another way, right? Tacita is Lucifer. It's the same story. She is the evening and the morning star, right? And this energy appears in masculine and feminine forms. And it goes through this profound cycle, right? It's a wild thing. But this idea of standing up to the tyranny, of rebuking the tyrant, of challenging the tyrant, of saying that his evil is not good, is profound. This is such a magical image. It's what sets the dragons apart. It's what leads to the profound initiation. If you read Lord Byron's Cain, that's what Cain tells you, right? It's the tacit pat, the unspoken word, the unspoken understanding that you will speak up against tyranny and will not submit. Wild stuff. Yeah, that's how we got the Larrys. So one of the things that I've been deeply, deeply interested in for a number of years now is the founding of Rome. And there's this beautiful book that I've been reading recently that's on Romulus and Remus, and on the origins of this myth. And what's really interesting is they're looking at the archaeology and they're looking at the mythology and they're trying to figure out the chronology of all these myths and all these stories. And it turns out that the earliest version of the story of the twins, it's not Romulus and Remus. It's Tacita and Hermes, and they give birth to the Larrys. And it's the Larrys pirate. I can't remember the exact word, but it's the Larrys that are twins. You know? And that's the earliest version. The whole Romulus and Remus thing is a later fabrication, you know, a reinterpretation. Wild stuff. All right. How cool, right? Hecate and Hermes. Yeah. And this is also, you know, it shows you the Pelasgian origins of Rome, right? Really, really wild stuff. Really wild stuff. And it goes back into the myths of Evander, you know, characters that people don't really think about too often in the Roman mythology. Really fun stuff. All right. We continue. Okay. And with that, I think we're going to hop over now and actually just do some sortes. You know, we're coming up almost to an hour and a half here. And yeah, we're going to have some fun. So we already did one beautiful sortes for our dear friend Kat. Now let's do one for our community. And we're going to go to Aeschylus, the Oresteia, the Orestian trilogy. All right. Muses, what is the message from the Oresteia? Inspire. I and my maidens who attend my statue here come to escort you to your home beneath the ground. Young women, children of a splendid company, flower of the land of Theseus, with a reverent troop of elder women, dressed in robes of purple dye, shall go with you. Honor the friendly goddesses, and let the flaring lights move on, that our new guests in coming years may grace our land with wealth and peace. Wow. I thank you for your prayers. Now by these torches gleam. I and my maidens who attend my statue here, come to escort you to your home beneath the ground. Wow. Athena's come to take us to a new world beneath the ground. Honor the friendly goddesses and come with her. Wow, wow, wow. Isn't that wild? How fun was that? Beautiful. All right, we continue. We're going to go now to Marlowe, Dr. Faustus. Muses, what is the message from Marlowe? Inspire. Tush, these slender trifles Wagner can decide. Hath Mephistopheles no greater skill? Who knows not the double motion of the planet? Tush, these slender trifles Wagner can decide. Hath Mephistopheles no greater skill? Who knows not the double motion of the planet? The first is finished in a natural day, the second thus, as Saturn in 30 years, Jupiter in 55, 12, Mars in 4, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury in a year, the Moon in 28 days. Tush, these are freshman suppositions. But tell me, has every sphere a dominion or intelligentsia? Oh, wow. This is something that is kind of funny. This is something that's kind of funny, right? You know, we often see this where the student, they're told something by the master. They're revealed a profound secret, profound magical idea, and then they balk at it. Well, this is something I already know. This is something I already understand. This is a freshman concept. Why are you telling me this? And that is the right question, but not one to be said in anger, right? Why are they telling you this? Why do you need to go back to the roots of the element? Why do you need to understand the basics, right? There's something to be said and something to be gained here. At the very least, there's an affirmation of something you've already heard, right? We need these affirmations and these assurances. There's power in these things. It's interesting. All right, we continue. We're going to go now to Lao Tzu, the Tao Te Ching. Muses, what is the message from Lao Tzu? Inspire. Therefore, a sage has said, I will do nothing of purpose, and the people will be transformed by themselves. How true. For only change is real, right? And we are ever in a state of flux. And the universe is going to do what it does. And us as limited individuals, even if we are the greatest of sages, right? Whether we have an impact or not, the world is still changing. How interesting. That was fun. Let's continue. Oh, we're going to go now to Thomas More, Complete Poetical Works. All right. Muses, what is the message from More? Inspire. Go, said the angry weeping maid. The charm is broken, once betrayed. Oh, never can my heart relay on word or look, on oath or sigh. Take back the gifts so sweetly given, with promised faith and vows to heaven. That little ring which night and morn, with wedded truth my hand hath worn. That seal which oft in moments blessed thou hast upon my lip impressed, and sworn its dewy spring should be a fountain sealed for only thee. Take them back, the gift and vow, all sullied, lost, and hateful now. Oh, wow, the breaking of an oath, right? Be careful of binds, my friends. Be careful of rules and strictures and bonds. There is great power in them, right? There's so much beauty in the true commitment, in the true loving connection, in the swearing of oaths, right? But for this to be profound, it must be limited and pure, right? We cannot take these lightly, and these things cannot be idealized, right? Because if you transition them into some ideal, then they become all twisted and they get all ridiculous, Do not bind you to things that you cannot do. Do not bind yourself to commitments you cannot make, right? But at the same time, commit to what you love. Commit to it with the full intensity of your being. Commit to the muse. She demands it. All right, we continue. Selected poetry and letters. Lord Byron. Muses, what is the message from Byron? I say 'tis blood, my blood, the pure warm stream, which ran in the veins of my fathers and in ours, when we were in our youth and had one heart, and loved each other as we should not love. And this was shed, but still it rises up, coloring the clouds that shut me out from heaven, where thou art not, and I shall never be. Wow. The blood. The pure warm stream which ran in the vein of mine and the Father's, right? We are connected in the blood and in the earth. And we are bound in the earth. We find ourselves here, not in the heaven. And there's a need to reconcile with the earth, to heal and to work and to live here, right? Wow. Let's continue. We're going to go now to The House of the Dead, Jeremy Reed. Muses, what is the message from Jeremy Reed? Inspire. 500 micrograms, and over his head, ripening yellow pears, tiger striped apples, and black scrotal figs, enticed by ripeness. But each time he reached towards them, they vanished into low cloud. Right? You know, there's profundity in the vision, but the vision is also still an illusion, right? Still in a manifestation of an entheogen, right? Wow, 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 wow. All right. We continue. Up next, we've got Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. Muses, what is the message from Milton? Inspire. Mm-hmm. To the terrestrial moon be as a star, enlightening her by day as she by night this earth. Wow. To the terrestrial moon be as a star, enlightening her by day as she by night this earth. Wow. Engage in the moon in a loving reciprocal relationship. Now, isn't that profound? Be the light for the moon as she reflects the light for you in our darkest moments. Wow. Beautiful. We continue. The Telltale Heart and other writings. Muses, what is the message from Edgar Allan Poe? Inspire. In about an hour after we first discovered her, we could clearly see the people on her decks. She was a long, low, and rakish-looking topsail schooner, and with a black ball in her foretopsail, and had apparently a full crew. We now became alarmed, for we could hardly imagine it possible that she did not observe us, and were apprehensive that she meant to leave us to perish, as we were an act of fiendish barbarity, which, however incredible it may appear, has been repeatedly perpetuated at sea under circumstances very nearby similar and by beings who were regarded as belonging to the human species. Wow. So what we're seeing here is men who are shipwrecked, and they're seeing a boat pass by that has yet to recognize them. And they're wondering, is it because they have not recognized them? Or is it because they're choosing to abandon them to die? Wow, wow, wow. And there's an extreme barbarity in that, to leave someone to die at sea, right? Wow. Interesting. Let's continue. Lorca, Three Tragedies. Muses, what is the message from Lorca? The hour of blood has come again. Two groups, you with yours and I with mine. After them, after them. Wow. The hour of blood hath come again. Two groups, yours with yours and I with mine. Right? Divided, we are always in that fighting, conflicting energy. And I think the Muse is telling us clearly, we find ourselves divided, right? I with mine and you with yours. Wild, painful energy in that. All right, we continue. Up next, we've got Bernard Shaw, Don Juan in Hell. Muses, what is the message from Don Juan in Hell? Inspire. There is something unnatural about these fellows. Do not listen to their gospel, Senior Commander. It is dangerous. Beware of the pursuit of the superhuman. It leads to an indiscriminate contempt for the human. Wow. Beware the pursuit of the superhuman. It leads to an indiscriminate contempt of the human. And there is no greater sin than the destruction of the human, right? The reducing of the human, the twisting of that energy, you know? Really, really wild stuff. Just crazy energy. Wild. Amazing. Okay, let's do another sorties here. Okay. The Iliad by Homer. Muses, what is the message from Homer? Iris ran down to stand upon the doorstone, and when they saw her, all the winds uprose with invitations, each one for himself. Iris ran down, and each one had an invitation from her to come and join the festivities. Wow. Right? Iris. Iris. Right. Iris, if I remember, yeah, goddess of the rainbow. Goddess of the rainbow, right? How incredible. Beautiful. All right. We're going to do one final sorties here, and then we're going to call it. So let's check. We've got The Stranger by Albert Camus. All right. Muses, what is the main message from Camus? Inspire. He concluded by saying that his duty was a painful one, but that he would carry it out resolutely. Now that is the chariot embodied in a sentence. The duty is painful, but I will do it resolutely with love and determination, for it is my duty, and I have sworn to do it. Profound, profound energy, right? Hail the chariot. Love it. And with that, we're now going to go to the Orphic hymns. All right. And let us read one of the beautiful Orphic hymns. Muses, which hymn should we read this evening? To Juno. O royal Juno, of majestic mien, aerial form divine, Jove's blessed queen, throned in the bosom of cerulean air, the race of mortals is thine constant care. The cooling gales thy power alone inspires, which nourish life, which every life desires. Mother of clouds and winds, from thee alone, producing all things, mortal life is known. All nature share thy temperament divine, and universal sway alone is thine. With founding blasts of wind, the swelling sea, and rolling rivers roar when shook by thee. Come, blessed goddess, famed almighty queen, with aspect kind, rejoicing and serene. How beautiful. How beautiful. And the next time anyone tries to tell you that Hera is some kind of shrill wife, just say this. She's the famed almighty queen with aspect rejoicing and serene. Okay? In the Orphic hymns. Love it. Love it. Hail Juno. All right. And with that, we are now going to say our prayer and end our rites. We cry out in loving adoration to the Great Mother, the twins, and the Muses, the one, duality, and generation. And we ask the Muses to sing in us the songs of inspiration, to guide us in our daily wanderings, and to teach us to listen and perceive with reasoned clarity. Thank you all for joining me on such a beautiful, lovely evening. Peace and love. Take care. Hail Hestia.